The morning sun spilled golden light across the quiet neighborhood as Michael pulled into his driveway after a long night shift. He was exhausted, his eyes heavy, his body craving nothing more than a shower and a few hours of sleep. As he parked his truck neatly in his own driveway, he felt a small sense of relief. Finally, thump. But that relief didn't last long. By afternoon, a bright orange slip fluttered against his windshield like a scarlet letter. At first, Michael thought it was a prank, until he read the bold letters, HOA violation, unauthorized parking. His jaw tightened. Unauthorized? In his own driveway? He stormed inside, holding the slip like a burning coal. His wife, Sarah, looked at him with concern. "What is it?" she asked softly. Michael tossed the paper on the table. "They fined me for parking in my own driveway." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "That can't be right. That's ridiculous." But it was real. The HOA had declared that homeowners could not park in their own driveways overnight, claiming it disrupted neighborhood aesthetics. Michael felt his chest tighten with anger. He had worked 12 hours straight, providing for his family, only to come home and be treated like a criminal by people who were supposed to represent the community. Still, he told himself maybe it was a mistake. Maybe if he talked to them, reason would win. But something deep down told him this was just the beginning of a battle he never asked for. The next day, Michael attended the HOA meeting. Rows of stiff-backed chairs were filled with neighbors, many of whom whispered among themselves. At the front sat the board members in their crisp black uniforms, looking more like enforcers than volunteers. Michael stood up, slip in hand. "Can someone explain to me how I can be fined for parking in my own driveway? This is my home. My property. My hard work pays for it. What gives you the right?" A board member, Mr. Collins, adjusted his glasses with cold precision. "The rules were voted on years ago. Overnight parking in driveways is against policy. It disrupts uniformity. You signed the agreement when you moved in." Michael clenched his fists. "I didn't sign away my freedom. I didn't sign away my right to park in front of my own house." Murmurs rippled through the room. Some neighbors nodded in agreement, others stayed silent in fear of retaliation. Michael realized this wasn't just about him. This was about everyone who had felt bullied into silence. He locked eyes with Sarah, who gave him a small, steady nod. In that moment, Michael knew he wouldn't back down. He was going to fight this. And to everyone watching this story right now, if you believe homeowners deserve fairness, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your friends. Let's stand together against unfair rules. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some residents approached Michael privately, admitting they too had been fined for ridiculous reasons. Trash cans left out for 5 minutes, flowers planted outside regulation colors, even flags being too large. Michael realized he wasn't alone. A quiet resistance began to form. He hosted small gatherings in his backyard, where neighbors shared their experiences and frustrations. There was anger, but also hope. For the first time, people felt like they had a voice. The HOA board, however, didn't take kindly to this newfound unity. They issued Michael another fine, this time for hosting unsanctioned gatherings. The message was clear: sit down, shut up, or pay the price. But Michael refused to be intimidated. He began researching property rights, HOA bylaws, and even spoke with a lawyer who explained that many of the HOA's rules were outdated, even unlawful. Armed with knowledge and community support, Michael crafted a plan. They would challenge the board legally, but more importantly, they would challenge them morally, in the eyes of their fellow neighbors. What started as one man's frustration was turning into something much larger, a movement. The showdown came sooner than expected. At the next HOA meeting, Michael and dozens of neighbors packed the hall. This time, the energy was different, louder, braver. Michael stood at the front, holding a folder thick with documents. "We've reviewed the bylaws," he began, his voice steady. "We've spoken to lawyers. Your rules are not only unfair, they're unenforceable. You can't keep bleeding families dry with pointless fines just to maintain your idea of perfection." The room erupted in applause. Mr. Collins slammed his gavel, demanding order. "This is not how things are done," he barked. Michael leaned forward. Then maybe it's time we do things differently. Neighbors stood up one by one, sharing their own stories. Tears filled some eyes, anger burned in others. The board, once confident and untouchable, now looked uneasy. They weren't facing one homeowner anymore. They were facing a united community. By the end of the meeting, a vote was called. For the first time in years, the majority spoke against the board's decisions. The rules on driveway parking, and several others, were suspended pending review. It wasn't total victory, but it was a crack in the wall. And through that crack, light poured in. Weeks later, the driveway stood as more than concrete. It was a symbol. Michael parked his truck there proudly every night, without a slip appearing on the windshield. Neighbors began waving as they passed, some even joining him to park in solidarity. The HOA board, once feared, had been forced to soften their grip. New elections were announced, and for the first time, homeowners felt empowered to run and represent the community fairly. Michael often thought back to that first orange slip, the spark that ignited a fire. What once felt like punishment had become a blessing in disguise. It brought people together, gave them courage, and reminded them that homeownership wasn't about uniformity, it was about freedom, family, and dignity. As he sat on his porch one evening, Sarah by his side, he smiled at the sight of cars lined proudly in driveways up and down the street. "We didn't just win for us," he whispered. "We won for everyone." And for those watching the story, let it be a reminder, when you stand up against unfairness, you don't just change your story, you inspire others to change theirs too.